What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolve video. Alright soldiers, so it has been a minute, but of course we're not going to talk about anything we did miss in BB16 because we're still going to be making that tier list. But today we're going to be talking about the Forestcraft reveals for Idolmaster Cinderella girls. Now there aren't going to be too many cards for this set, so we will be doing multiple ones in one day just to catch up because the set does release this Friday. But hopefully all the translations here are going to be correct because I did kind of like do some extra work on making sure that they did kind of match up because the Japanese titles actually are a bit longer than the English ones. Alright, so starting off with our first card, we have Anastasia Sees the Light. So she's a 2-cost 1/1. You can evolve for 1, but when she comes to play Fanfare, you can spend 1 extra play point and lessen 1. You may put a 2-cost or less Idolmaster Cinderella Girl card from your hand into your EX area, and it costs 2 less to play this turn. Alright, so any residents that already know how cool kind of works, Anastasia is just going to be very amazing just because you do get the 1 card in the EX area. You already have the 5 magical items in your EX area. Getting rid of that 1 to go ahead and playing a 2-cost Idolmaster girl to get her fanfares off, and she might potentially have a lesson 1. Hopefully she doesn't have any more fanfares for extra play points because you are going to be playing a little bit fast, so you won't have that many play points to play with. But this card alone does lead to a lot of potential combos for the deck. Alright, so taking it, Anastasia Sees the Light evolve, so she turns into a 2/2, but on evolve you select up to 2 other Idolmaster Cinderella Girl followers on your field and give them +1/+1, but then on super evolve you give each other Idolmaster Cinderella Girl follower on your field +1/+1 again. Alright, so it looks like on regular evolve you're just going to be giving 2 other Idolmaster followers +1/+1, which can definitely help, especially for your enemy swinging in on the big storm turn. And then on super evolve you're going to be doing both, so 2 Idolmaster followers are going to get +2/+2, so that is a very fat board. Alrighty, next up we have Hajime Fujiwara, Pink Blossom Dream. So she's a 2-cost 2/2. When she comes into play Fanfare, you look at the top card of your deck. If it's a cool card, you may reveal it and add it to your hand. You can also activate for 0 play points and select enemy on the field and deal it 1 damage. You can activate only once per turn if there are at least 3 cool followers on your field. Alright, so the slim chance that you are going to be playing on curve, and there is a chance that your opponent plays a 1-cost follower that has 1 defense. That can definitely happen for the 0 play points, but having the 3 cool followers on field is not going to be happening pretty early. You're probably going to be comboing this all in a full turn, so hopefully there's going to be another cool follower that does damage like equal to like 4 or at least 3, because you do need the 3 on field to go ahead and activate this. But then looking at regular Fanfare, of course, you're able to play this for free off of other effects. So being able to play this like the top card, if you're going to be playing the cool deck, then most definitely then you're going to be hitting a whole bunch of cool cards, but just being able to get some more cards in your hand is good. Alright, next up we have Minami Nida Water's Edge Bride. So she's a 3-cost 3/3. When she comes to play Fanfare, you search your deck for a follower with Anastasia in its name and put it into your EX area, then shuffle. It costs 3 less to play this turn. You can also activate and lessen 1 to select enemy on the field and engage it. It doesn't refresh during its controller's next start phase. Alright, so I'm gonna be honest, soldiers. The activate lesson 1 here, I didn't realize until I played Thief Sword how good that is. Being able to engage an enemy follower and it doesn't refresh. Of course, there are going to be some followers that have very good activate abilities, especially even if they're engaged, they can still get a lot of stuff done. But if you manage to just play a little low to the ground, and that's kind of what cool is wanting to do, just play low to the ground, being able to stop an enemy follower for matching your freak in terms of aggression, just really does help. Alright, but getting into the Fanfare here, so we have Anastasia that can be played from the deck, so it gets thrown right into the EX area. Do make sure, of course, when you are playing Idolmaster that you have the spot open in the EX area, but of course, most of the time when you need those spots open, the card that you are going to be playing is going to be using the lesson 1 to get the magical item out of your EX area, so this is a very good combo. Alright, next we have Yuki Himikawa, Full Swing Cheer. So she's a 7-cost 4/4. She has Storm, but when she comes to play Fanfare, you deal 4 damage each enemy follower on the field. And if the total cost of passion cards on your field is at least 10, you can deal 8 damage instead, and the total cost of passion cards on your field is at least 20, you can deal 4 damage to each enemy leader. Alright, so for any of you who do not remember how passion works, it's kind of like what, you know, Havencraft Gold Ship is. You're going to be playing a whole bunch of cards for free in 1 turn. Of course, the card you are going to be playing for free is going to have Storm because everything is going to be bounced back to your hand. So whatever you do play, this is going to go very well with it because this is a 7-cost card. So you're already going to have the natural deal 4 damage. You just at least need at least 3 to do another 8 damage, and then you need at least another 13, which cannot be super crazy because most of the cards we are going to be playing are just huge bombs, but they're all going to come back to our hand. So the good thing about these cards that we do play the very same turn, they're going to have Storm, or they're going to affect the life of our opponent or the field, and then we put them back to our hand so we can play them a lot later. Another thing that I really do like about this card is that it does not use your magical items. So this is definitely going to be a replacer for the Passion deck in terms of bombs, just because we can now do 4 damage to the leader for having at least 20 Passion cards in terms of cost, excuse me, and then deal 4 damage to enemy leader, and then we have a 4/4 swinger for Storm, which is a total of 8, which can potentially close out the game. Alright, next we have Rina Tada Wannabe Legend. So she's a 5-cost 4/4. You can evolve from 1, but when she comes to play Fanfare, search your deck for an Idol Master Cinderella amulet that costs 1, summon it, and then shuffle. You can also activate for less than 1, and you may summon a 1-cost or less Idol Master follower or 1-cost or less Idol Master Girl amulet from your hand. Alright, soldiers, you are going to have to forgive me because I am drawing a blank on what the 1-cost amulet that is going to be very good in this deck, especially for playing 5 play points. The lesson one is still very good because you're also getting a 1-cost follower, because the cool deck does want to build up a whole big board. And the thing about cool followers is that they just build up an entire board and then you give another cool follower Storm, as long as you have like 3 or more like cool followers or like cool cards. So being able to get the maximum of 3 cool things on field with just 5 play points is pretty cool. But if any of you soldiers do know, let me know in the comments below what the combo I'm missing is. Alright, so we have Rina Tada Evolve. So she turns into a 5/5, but on Evolve, you return an Idol Master Cinderella Girl from your field into its owner's hand, and then you can select any of on the field and put it on the bottom of its owner's deck. You can also activate for less than 1, and it still has the ability of being able to summon a 1-cost or less Idol Master follower or amulet. Alright, so if I remember correctly, not many of these Idol Master cards had ways to avoid last words, because these cards don't have banish, unless it is a Haven card, which, you know, I might have missed. But I don't think there's any ways to stop last words in Idol Master, because we are playing very fast, and most of the time when we are like getting rid of followers, we're probably either doing it 3 damage or we're trading it in. But being able to stop a follower from getting last words, which is very important, especially with a ward follower, this can really help us. Alrighty, next we have Hinako Kita True Dream. So she's a 1-cost 1/1. You can evolve her for 2, but when she comes to play Fanfare less than 1, you can give your leader +1 defense. Alright, so this is probably what you're going to be using going turn 1. So being able to free up that 1 space for a magical item, especially if on turn 2 you can go ahead and just fetch a card and put it into your EX area that doesn't already have a less than 1. So this is very good in terms of tempo. Alright, so looking at Hinako Kita Evolve. So she turns into a 2/2, but on Evolve you draw a card and then give your leader +2 defense. Alright, so personally, I do like these cards like Elusa that allows you to play it on turn 1, and then of course you're going to be swinging with her turn 2 because we're going to evolve her. She's going to have a pretty good ability to draw us a card, or with Elusa's ability, you're able to get any Arcana form follower. But with this card, you're able to draw an extra card for that turn, heal 2, which you already did on the 1-cost card to heal 1. So you healed a total of 3, and if our opponent doesn't burn us for like 1 or 2 on turn 1, which is highly unlikely but can happen, you know, being able to just heal 2 here on the evolve to go ahead and just gear us more towards the late game in case we go against aggro. Alright, next we have Miku Mayakawa Mi Wonderful World. So it's a 1-cost 1/1. It has Storm, and then last words less than 1 to search your deck for a follower with Miku Mayakawa and its name, reveal it, and add it to your hand, and then shuffle. I think this was one of the cards that had a bit of a translation difference from JP to English. I can't exactly remember what it was, but I already felt pretty cringe saying the actual word. But a 1-cost follower with Storm in the Q deck is kind of cool, I guess. On the other hand, I think Q was the play line where you just kind of like stalled until you hit like a boss monster that kind of stalled you out, if I remember correctly. The Q deck didn't really do anything, so I think it was just stall. So being able to have some Storm that just gets you another Miku Mayakawa from the deck on last words is pretty cool too. But honestly, I can't really remember what the Q deck really did towards the later turns of the game. Alrighty, and looking at our last cards, we have Dream Colored Flower Front. So it's a 5-cost spell, and you may summon a 6-cost or less Passion follower from your hand, and then put a magical item token into your EX area. Alright, so this is really going to help us because when we do summon our Passion followers, we are going to be using our magical items to play free girls, and then sometimes our free girls are going to need our magical items in the EX area to do other effects too. So being able to get a magical item back is very good, and then for the Passion deck, being able to do this on turn 5 before we get into turn 6 is going to be helpful for tempo. Alright, so we're going to be moving on into our SP cards for Forestcraft. So if you're going to be looking forward to picking up anything, these are going to be the expensive cards, the ones that are over, I'd say probably $200, $300. So if you are a collector, do be on the lookout for these cards because they are going to be pricey. And then we have a section for us gamers here that actually want to have the pretty cards, but with the text box, because we do want to, you know, bling out our deck sometimes. We do have the Goddess of Sunlight Sea, and then the challengers tier. So I do believe that these cards, yeah, these cards do have different words on their bigger rarities. So do make sure whenever you do have these cards to make sure that they're their actual correct ones in the Bushiroad Navi app. Alrighty, soldiers, and that is all the cards for Forestcraft for Idolmaster Cinderella Girls. I'm gonna be honest, I know I'm a little late on doing these things, but we will be getting through them very quickly this week because there aren't that many cards, and then we will talk about set 16 because I'm ready to talk about these decks, because that first week of me playing Runecraft, and if anybody who was playing Runecraft knows that Runecraft isn't as strong as what it was, and I know we'll get into it for set 16. I promise we will. But most definitely, I'm looking forward to doing the rest of the Idolmaster Cinderella Girls cards for this set. We'll be doing 2 in one day, so do be on the lookout for maybe either Swordcraft or Runecraft, whichever one I want to do today, but we'll figure that out later. But soldiers, make sure you are safe in whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. TRINN. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do. Just to get you away. You pull me too close, now we hesitate.